Hey guys, welcome to Wholehearted Living with Valerie
and Benny.
And we are here to...
Every time. She doesn't know.
I don't know how to introduce.
Iggy, thank you so much for keeping us in sound. We're glad you're here.
No, but if you don't know, if you haven't followed, we are the episode where one of us brings a topic and the other one doesn't know what it is. And then the other one...
response.
Oh my gosh, the banter in the background. But today we do know what's happening. So
you just said we are the episode.
We are the episode.
I just
you said we are the episode. We are the podcast.
We are the podcast where one of us comes in with a subject, the other one doesn't know what it's about, and then we chat about it.
Yeah.
But today, you
It's
can
gonna
just
be
edit
different.
all that, Iggy. Today we
Yeah.
already have
Keeping
a
us in
guest,
sound.
and so we know about it.
Yeah, we do know about it this time. Yeah, we happen to know her well.
I
But
know.
we'll
I
talk
knew
about
her
her
longer
later.
than you. I know her longer than you.
Yeah, well, you know everybody longer than me because you're older.
Well,
Okay. Anywho, you said that you had a story to tell us, so tell us for God's
I don't
sake.
have a real story.
Hey, we're both
You
wearing
just-
green. It's Mary Poppins Day. What's it called? St. Patrick's Day.
It is not St. Patrick's Day.
Well, around it's close.
I'm wearing St. Patrick's. I'm wearing green because we had a fun run today, and first grade was green.
Ah,
And hence the reason that my eyes are red, my nose is stuffy, and I have a scratchy throat because I stood on the grass for a long time and
Yeah.
I am so allergic to the grass.
well, I just can tell you one thing that I'm really proud of is you used the word hence and correctly. Nice job.
Incorrectly?
And correctly.
Oh, I thought you said incorrectly. I like to use the word hence. It's my word.
Oh, jeez. It just comes up all the time.
No, I do. Sometimes I say hence and Peter's like, oh, look at you, hence.
That's too funny. So look I'm wearing green. I'm wearing a green shirt.
And
you know
a
where I bought
vest.
this green?
And a vest.
Yeah, but you know where I bought
Costco.
No.
Oh.
Where did I buy this green? I think I bought it in Barcelona.
Oh, nice.
And then this thing we bought in, guess where?
Barcelona.
No.
Oh.
It's wool. That's a hint.
Oh, you got it in that last thing you did. Ireland.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Where does St. Patrick's Day come from?
Ireland.
Ireland. Oh my gosh, she's not sure. Yes.
No,
it's an
I'm
Irish
not. What do you
thing.
mean I'm not sure?
Well,
I'm
you
married
go,
to an Irishman. No, I'm
Ireland.
like, are you really just kidding? St. Patrick's Day comes from Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing green and I'm wearing an Irish.
It's not even St. Patrick's Day, so
I know, but it was a good story and great banter.
yeah. So anyway, we always talk about working out and getting up and going to the gym and
That's
all that
true.
good stuff. I took a week off the gym.
No
Same.
kidding.
Literally?
You both did?
Oh my God, you didn't even text me and tell me. No, I almost felt bad that I didn't do my pull-up thing and video and tag Iggy in it. But no, my last workout was Saturday and I'm not going back till Monday. And because I had a kink in my neck on Monday and I was like, okay, I'm just going to take the day off. No big deal. And then Tuesday came around and I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice just sitting here. You know what? I've never taken more than like 3 days off in a row. And even when I was on vacation and trips and all that stuff, still go down to the gym and work out. And I read things about it's really good to give your body a break, give it a full week. And so this is my week.
I'm taking off exercise for Lent.
No,
I'm just kidding. Wouldn't
If
that
it
be
makes you
great?
feel better, I took a 5-year break.
oh, well,
So he feels great.
well, now I know. No, now I know how people get out of the habit after they take like a week or
Oh,
two
yeah.
off because I'm like, oh,
It's kind of nice to wake up
yeah.
a little later or chill out.
I don't wake up
Not
later,
wake up later,
but it's
you
just
could
nice to have my
chill.
whole
Yeah.
morning. I sat outside with the dog one morning and
Yeah.
But-
I only swam once this week because I didn't want to get up early and go. And then the other thing is that all my workouts were like short wads from previous years at CrossFit. And I did 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I still walk. I walk, a couple miles in the morning, but
yeah, I haven't even walked, which is crazy because I do like walking, but I walk a lot at school. I get like 7,000 or 8,000 steps just at work.
okay. Yeah. Well, they don't count though, because that's work. Your body
Steps
doesn't register.
Yeah.
No, but the thing for me in the morning is that's like my time. I make some phone calls. I do some stuff in the morning. So it's a way to do it. And at the same time, I'm getting a little bit of exercise. But I would say that this was a little bit more mellow in terms of my workouts because they weren't very... Well, I guess when I worked out, they were intense, but they were relatively short.
Yeah.
A lot of rowing.
Oh, well, I'm anxious to see how I'm going to feel when I go back on Monday, because even when I've taken like 2 days off for whatever reason, I go back into the gym, feel really good, really good. And so I'm looking forward to going back, and I'm really.
And it is a little different because I've taken time off of the gym, but it's almost, well, it is because of being sick. It's almost, when I'm
that's
sick, then I don't go.
Weaker
but
when
then
you
you
get
go back, I'm weaker, right? And you're totally weaker. So it's kind of, it'll be interesting to see because you might just get all fired up to do something.
I'm excited. I miss it, but I'm like, no, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
Do you miss it, or are you good? Or why did you take it off?
Well, because for me, it was more of because I've been eating at a deficit.
Oh, okay.
I was starting to get really low energy.
Yeah.
So then
maybe you're too low then.
Yeah.
No, it's been like 2 months that I've been doing it straight.
Oh.
So then, because the last time I did 2 months, then I took a break while my brother was here.
Oh, right.
Oh, right.
And then I got back in it. Now it's been 2 months again.
Okay.
So then I take a break, like let my body rest, and then I eat at maintenance.
Yeah.
To just fuel up again.
Yeah. Perfect. And that's interestingly, I've upped my protein quite a bit this week because I didn't want to lose muscle while not being at the gym. And the funny thing is I rarely weigh myself, but I got on the scale this morning thinking, okay, no workout, up my protein. I lost 3.5 pounds. I was like,
must be nice.
No, I mean, I think it probably is muscle, but
or 3.5 pounds in a week? Call the cops. That's impossible.
It is impossible, right?
Yeah, that's water.
So what is it? Just fat?
Water. You don't.
Water.
Fat. Where do you have fat? I could lose 3.5 pounds of fat in a day, but yeah, it's probably water. Yeah, because I bet you did change your water intake.
That's true.
Based
actually.
on the fact that
that is very true.
Because you're not working out, so probably some of that changed too. So that's interesting. So, this is actually it's our guest. I don't think you could really call this person your guest.
No, we don't. We can call her ours.
Okay. Do you want to talk about her?
So, for the people that listen that don't know our family, but have maybe heard of us talk about our sister, we're having our sister Stephanie on today.
Woo-wee!
Woo, woo.
And the crowd goes wild.
Yeah, so it would just be fun to chat with her because I know that we mention her a lot or not a lot, but I mean, Stephanie's looking at us like
every single week.
No, but I mean, we had mom and dad on, and then I know we got a lot of feedback like that was great to see your parents and blah, blah, blah. So it would be fun to have Stephanie on. And I know that we want to have Patty on as a guest.
My wife.
Yeah.
For those wondering.
We'll do that too.
Yeah. So we're going to keep trying to entertain, have some more guests and so on. But the whole idea ultimately is, in this case, it's probably going to be just chatting. But in the end, we hope that it's going to provide some wonderful little wholehearted living nuggets. So,
so without further ado,
here comes our sister.
All righty. We are back with our sister Stephanie.
We're back with our sister Stephanie, and the crowd goes wild.
So
Nice.
Stephanie, as we've talked about before, I am the oldest, and Stephanie, and then Benny. So she is the middle child, and she felt all the feels of being a middle child, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the listener, I don't know if we've ever really talked about like your. I know we've mentioned Stephanie before, but why don't you tell us like your
family?
Your family, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us a little about our niece nephew.
Okay,
And
so
wife.
I've been married to my wife, Stephanie. Yes, we have the same name.
And middle name.
And middle name, Stephanie Marie. And I've been married to her for 25 years. And we both have a son who's 17 and a daughter who's 15. And one of them, the 17-year-old, is going off to college, and it's killing me. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. I think it's funny that you said we both have one, as if we both. One of us has a son, and the other one has a daughter.
Sorry, I'm going to move it up just a smidgen.
Yeah.
Is it falling?
It's falling, and I can't get up.
No, yeah. Jonathan he got accepted to a few places. What is going down?
yeah, he got accepted to a bunch of colleges, but he's looking at Reed College as being the main one that he's interested in right now.
That's the one you went to this past weekend.
Yeah, we went to Oregon to go visit it. He loved it. I think it's going to be his top choice so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
sad that it's his top choice? Or what are you?
No, sad that it's in Oregon, I'm guessing.
He's gonna go
Oh
away.
yeah. Oh gosh, don't even get me started. Yeah, I try not to think about it.
I know.
Otherwise, I just get all emotional and everything.
So you told us a little about your family. Tell us what you're doing right now, like for a job for folks.
I'm a mental health therapist at a school in Manhattan Beach. That's a non-public school, so it's basically for students who, it's like it's like the last house on the road, so to speak, that this is the last place that they're going to be able to go to before they might go to a residential treatment center or something along those lines. They've been kicked out of numerous schools.
Is it kind of like
reasons.
Sherry? Like, do you remember Sherry School that a lot of kids?
Oh yeah, that's right. It was Is that the one that was next to Norris?
No, it was next to Scrock.
No,
That's it.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a continuation school. That's what I know.
I'm
This
so
is like
sorry.
going
Can you
slower.
help her out? Do that. Thing?
Because it's
But
pulled out for.
it's basically a school, a non-public school that it's not like a continuation school. This is for students who have IEPs, individualized education plans.
Yeah, yeah.
And their IEPs make it so that they need to be in a school where there's like a smaller amount of teachers, a smaller amount of students to student to teacher ratio. And Penny keeps smiling.
So almost like a learning center, but a school like that.
Yeah, we just have a lot of staff per student because these students come there with, it's a trauma-informed school, so we definitely have a lot of trauma in the students that we have. But they come there because they've gotten into a ton of fights, or they, aren't coming to school at all for various reasons. Just a variety of reasons.
Do you
like
like
that.
it?
Yeah, is it satisfying?
That's a good question. No, actually, I would say it is pretty satisfying work most of the time. It is. I think what's more difficult is the outside kind of like administration kind of things you have to deal with. But working with the students one-on-one, I love that.
I know my learning center teacher loves working with the students, but all of the legalities of IEPs and all that kind of stuff is just like
Yeah.
But,
Isn't it always the case that the thing that messes people up, especially in therapy, because you obviously before this, because you've only been doing this for a year-ish?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing at this school for about a year, but I've worked in NPSs twice already. So I've
I remember
altogether
many
had
years,
like
ago,
6 or
right?
7 years at
NPS.
The funny
non-public school.
Yeah. The funny thing is Stephanie has a marriage and family therapy degree, which she was a therapist. She worked, well, you can tell us, but she had her own business and she worked in different companies or what have you. And it's funny because now you're doing that. And
yeah. What's interesting for me is how you switched. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I guess maybe a question that I would ask you, I'm very interested in is, what in the world got you to a point where you go, this is what I want to do, is talk to other people about their crap.
Oh.
But you did that many years, like even before you got into MFT.
That's what I'm
work
saying.
for adolescents and it was,
Yeah. I think most therapists would say it's from their own crap. So, so I would say that it's just going through my own stuff, going to therapy for it. I always have had a heart for working for people, helping people. And when I was really young, I was like a youth leader and I would talk to the kids and I'd get to know them. And then I'd find out these just terrible stories and things that they had to go through. And I always wanted to help them, but I didn't really have the knowledge or whatever to know how to help them. So I just tried to be there as best I could.
Yeah.
So I think since, I was probably a teenager, I started being interested in all that. And then I went to school and I started working in psychiatric hospitals, things like that. And I just knew that I wanted to be a therapist. So I went back to school.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to do something audio-wise. Can you put that lunchbox or something underneath there? Because now we can't hear her.
Yeah, let me just do this.
I think it's just because we pulled it out so far. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. No, it's going to be too high.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it's too high. Sweetheart, it's too high. So never mind.
Yeah, I'm almost to the ground. Like,
I know. Well, and then the bummer
there's
was the last time you were talking, it was starting to get, it was,
There we go.
we were
That'll-
starting to
okay.
lose
Stay
you
there.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about what your journey was and finally coming into the place where you go, I really want to do this. Like, this is super, like, this is important to me. And you're saying, okay, I had my own stuff, but I imagine there was something else that led you to that, right? Or no?
Yes. Oh, that was a journey. I guess the main thing that led me into marriage and family therapy, particularly, was that I used to work in a psychiatric hospital, and so I was doing what's called therapeutic recreation. So I led these groups that were like assertiveness training and other things like that. And then these other people would come in and get to do actual group therapy, like talk about people's problems and really do real work like that. I was so jealous of them, but I didn't have the degree. So I decided so then that was in 1992. I went back to get my master's in marriage and family therapy. And then by 95, I graduated and I've been doing this ever since. So yeah. So getting into this school and why I'm at this school now and doing this is purely because of the schedule they have.
It's nice to work for a school, right?
Yeah. I get to, because I want to be home with my kids, so I get to be off when they're off and that type of thing. So it works out really good.
Yeah. Well, your kid, because one of them's going to be gone to another state.
Okay. He's better ready. He's just like trying to, I'm not going to cry, so you can forget that.
I'm kidding. I just think it's funny. No. So there's so many little questions that I could ask, but I'm going to ask a big one instead. Do you mind?
Yeah. Go ahead.
If time and money were of no object, what would you do?
Oh my gosh, it's one of those kind of questions.
You said go ahead.
I know.
Sure.
I thought
Did you say exactly that? That's what I heard. Let's put back the tape.
I know.
Okay. If time and money were no thing, what would I do?
Yeah, I'm wondering what I'm trying to get at is what's your dream? Maybe here's a question that we asked in our podcast earlier. The question is, what do you want people to say about you when you're all gone? When you're at your funeral?
These are deep questions.
I know. This is wholehearted living.
Okay, yes.
No, and I'm just curious. I'm very curious what makes you tick.
Well, I'll just be blank honest. I mean,
don't do that. This is a podcast.
I'm gonna lie right now.
Just say whatever we want you to say.
No, I mean, the reality is that I'm not where probably I want to be in a lot of different areas of my life. So, there's things that I want to change about myself. I want to be healthier. I want to be more financially, healthier, I guess you could say. It's a weird time that you're asking me because all I can think about, and this has never been me. All I can think about is money. It's college money.
Yeah,
money,
it's crazy times
how to
right
save.
now.
And so,
I didn't mean to lead you down a negative thing.
I know.
I meant to lead you down. Where do you what will people say about you, or what do you want them to say about you? What is it that you are? And you're more than welcome to talk about the stuff that's hurting if that's what you want to. But I don't want you to feel obligated.
No, I guess I'd want people to say that I was a really good mom. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny how it's like you could have all the degrees in the world, but if somebody comes back, she was such a good mom, I'd be like, okay, I succeeded.
Truthfully, that's a huge, huge thing as a good wife. And that I cared about people and I was loving, that people knew I cared. Yeah.
I can't help but noticing that you said you were married to a girl named Stephanie.
Yes.
And Marie. I'm just kidding. I know who she is. No. So that would mean that you're gay.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be true. I'm glad you realized that.
So
what?
So as someone who lives a gay life with obviously a woman, are you happy now? Because I know that there were many struggles many years ago. In fact, I didn't know that you were gay. I always thought you were just a tomboy. And then when you finally came out, it was like, oh, okay, now it all makes sense and clicks, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, now that you are living this life and you've got your children and, how compared to today to maybe junior high school years, how how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, coming out was the best thing I ever did. But I had kind of, sort of, quasi came out to a bunch of Christian friends,
Right.
And they, you know, and the main issue for me was that I couldn't be gay and Christian at the same time.
Right.
So that was the way I was taught, and that's what my friends believed. So for years, I went through and did all kinds of sorts of things to try to change myself from being gay.
Right.
And then eventually, when I say I came out, was when I came out to myself and believed God loved me for who I was, and I didn't have to try to change anymore.
Right.
And I mean, I was guilt ridden all the time. I felt before that I was guilt ridden a lot. I was depressed. I had a lot of stuff going on that was really bad in my 20s.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have that like regular 20s life because I was always like had all kinds of pressure and, you know, just stuff like that. So anyways, but when I came out, it was like a huge relief, you know, and then I found Steph and it just made my life just totally full.
Yeah.
You know?
I always
Was
laugh.
Steph lost?
She was roaming. Wait. No, but I always have to laugh when, because I remember the story I remember that time when Mom said you were at some place and they were going to try to quote unquote fix you.
Right.
And I just remember looking at Mom and going, how do you change who you are? It would be like somebody telling me, you know what, you better go into that hospital and they better make you gay. Like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't change who I am. So I always have to laugh when they're like, we're not going to accept you. So I was trying to change. And it's like, you know, it's different than changing your pants. Like,
Right.
It's not
that simple. Yeah. I mean, I went through an ex-gay ministry, and I always say I got so much out of it because I got a lot of healing about my relationship with my father and everything, but I still was gay after
at the end of the day, still,
He's our father too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, your father.
No. And it didn't help. I mean, I'm because I know, you know, our history was that I certainly wasn't a great light when you came out. It was a really hard thing for me.
I was, just so you know.
Yeah, you were the good sister. Bite me. And so, but I wasn't great. And it's interesting because as the years have gone by, and honestly, because of a lot of different things, which I won't get into because this is not about me, it's like I really have completely changed in my heart and how I am and who I am and so on and so forth. And it's fascinating to me to look back, because when you see things in hindsight, like what Valerie just said, to go, how in the world is it that I think the thing that comes down to it is that most people think it's a decision. They don't think it's
that's a choice.
They don't think, so they think it's a decision. And so just like, well, I shouldn't, you know, be an alcoholic, or I shouldn't do drugs. Well, then you shouldn't do this. And so that's what most people, particularly in the Christian world, I think. And then the ones that don't, that they recognize that this is not a choice, then they still say, well, it doesn't matter. You still just got to figure it out, kind of a thing. And so, but I would say that there's a bunch of people like me who was already leaning in a different direction, but just didn't have the balls to come out and say, you know,
it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But I was a professional Christian, and if I would have said that, I'd get fired.
Yeah.
Literally.
Right.
And so
you could have whispered it in Stephanie's ear.
That's probably true. I could have whispered it to my kids too, because it was very confusing for my kids, because I was trying to be very accepting all the time, but at the same time, it's like, here I'm pastoring these churches that don't that say it's okay.
Yeah.
That don't say it's okay. And so it's that's a really difficult line, right, to do. But it's interesting because this whole thing is about wholehearted living, and you're talking.
Tell a story real quick?
Yeah.
No,
Please do.
I'm talking.
Okay.
I'm totally kidding.
No, please
But I'm
do.
afraid we're going to get off the subject. So I got to tell a story about you. And so when I was in Colorado Springs, that's where, I'm sure you guys know, that's where I ended up coming out. Colorado Springs, of all places, is where I came out.
For those of you that are listening and going, what does that have to do with anything? It's kind of like a Christian Mecca. It's where there's a lot
focus
of
on the family.
Yeah.
So long story short, I came to believe that, okay, wait a minute, you know, it's okay that God loves me for who I am and everything. And my mom happened to be there when I came out. So the moment that I came to realize that it was okay for me to be gay was the moment that my mom was visiting,
Right.
who was very like
too.
against it at the time.
Right.
And anyway, so she went home, I guess, and told everybody, you know, oh, Steph's gay, you know, and my I guess I can share the story. My dad, you know, he's like, oh, well, I know that, you know, that's wrong. And, you know, he said a bunch of things, which I won't even get into. But then I talked to Valerie and she's like,
Oh yeah, I called you.
yeah,
I know,
she
now I
calls
know.
me and she goes, I'm really upset. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. You know, I'm waiting for her to like nail me about being gay and how wrong it is and everything. And she goes, yeah, I heard you were smoking. And oh, that gay thing. Oh, big deal.
What happened with the smoking? What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
That's too funny. Okay, wait. There's something important about Colorado Springs. You and I
Yeah.
drove to Colorado Springs together.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so we drove in a U-Haul, right? Was
Yes.
it- we drove in a
Yes.
U-Haul.
Oh,
Were we?
is that where she met her partner? Isn't that
I
what they
don't know what
say
that
about
means.
gay people? You know what gay people do on the second date? They go get a rent a U-Haul or
Yeah.
something.
Jeez.
She's really working that joke in.
Wow.
Sorry. Sorry.
So I just remember this because you might relate to this too, at least what I'm about to share. But do you know what? You know the story I'm going to share about our drive, right?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So we start driving and it's nighttime. It's a little bit of
The hail snore, it was coming.
It wasn't
Yeah.
hail. That's what was so funny is that
Yeah.
we were driving, and what was weird is we were both going, "What is that?" Some things were kept on hitting the window, and we're driving, and we go, I don't know how far we went, a mile or so, and then finally we said we got to pull over because we were literally like nervous that
Yeah.
something was wrong.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was, and we pulled over and we got out, and it was snowing.
Oh,
we had never
that's so
had been in
fun.
snow.
Aw.
We were
Yeah.
20 some years old,
It
and
was
we had never been in snow.
Wasn't it like parallel or something? It was
Well,
coming
just
out of
because
in
it
at your-
floats,
Yeah.
because it floats, and
Yeah.
we're driving 60 miles an hour,
Yeah,
and so it's
yeah.
like running into the wind, and then it would just disappear, and
was
we were
crazy.
like, "What the hell is that?" We were so very
How
confused,
funny.
and here we are in our 20s, and we had never seen it
Excuse-
snow
Yeah.
before, or at least while we were driving. I had never seen it snow. I don't think because
I
I
have
think
never
that was
seen
the
it
first
snow.
time
I've
I'd
been to
to
snow.
snow,
Yeah.
but I had never seen it snow.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to say, I feel like we've seen snow before. I didn't go with you guys on that trip, but I was going to say, I know when you guys went, and I was like, I feel like we've seen snow.
Yeah, yeah.
But
no, yeah,
not-
because
but
we
not
saw it in Big
snowing.
Bear. So
Yeah.
I had been to Big Bear, multiple times, seen
funny.
snow and been in snow and played with snow.
I
but
thought
it
she
the
was
first
going to
time
say
ever.
something like, you were going to say, okay, it's my turn to drive. And she said, no, I'm going to drive because you don't know how to do this.
We were
That was a
beyond that.
different trip.
We were beyond that. No, do you know the trip? She's talking about when I drove with her.
Oh, okay.
There was a
No.
time when I was like, okay, this is it's too funny. But when I was learning how to drive. Was I 15 or 16?
I don't even know.
Okay.
Permit.
But I
Learner's
must
permit,
have been
yeah,
15 then. So I must have been 15 and a half-ish. And so we're driving to her house. Where'd you, it
Lakewood.
doesn't matter. So
Lakewood.
she's, yeah. And we're going on the 91. I remember her on the 91. And I said, Valerie, because she would let me drive a little bit around, right? And I said, Valerie, can I drive? And she goes, no. And so then we driving, and then all of a sudden the traffic slowed down and she changed lanes. And it was kind of quick, but not like, NASCAR. It was just like a little change. And she looked at me and she goes, see, you couldn't have done that. and what's so funny is I went, oh,
That's right.
instead of going, oh, you're such an idiot or whatever. I was like, oh, wow.
That's mean. Don't call her an idiot.
I didn't call her an idiot. Where are we getting this banter from the crowd?
I know.
Goodness.
The peanut gallery needs to.
Yeah. So anyway, but the point is that I just thought that was really funny. So, and I think what I was going to go for with wholehearted living is the fact that wholehearted living is coming true to yourself, right? I mean, that's certainly a significant part of it. And I think when you say when we think of our listeners, I think most of our listeners, all of our listeners, because I would include myself in this, there's things that I want to change about me. There's things I want to get better at. There's things I want to do better. There's things that I want to, and so you're just simply saying that you want to improve.
Yeah. That's way back to that other conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do in this podcast.
I was like, whoa, man, that's come back 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
No, but
I get what
in
you're
terms
saying.
of what he's saying, because I think he's trying to bring it back to wholehearted living.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you did say something like, there are things that you want to change. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but especially in the field that you're in, that's what life is all about. Just continuing to change. When
Yeah.
people look at me and say something like, "Oh, you've changed," I'm like, "Okay, good." Because if I was still who I was 20 years ago,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
a shame, right?
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely these things that I mean, over the years, obviously I've changed certain things, but there's certain things that just keep, coming back. And no matter how much you feel like you keep trying to change,
Yeah.
then they just come back. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be a downer when I shared
No,
that.
not at all.
I don't
You
think
know,
it's a downer.
no,
No,
not
but
at
I
all.
didn't want to put you in a place where I didn't mean to ask a question that was encouraging you to go down that route. If you want to talk that route, you can certainly do that. But that wasn't my intent. My intent was to say what you did say. I want to be a good mom. I want to be known as a person who cares about other people, and
Be a good wife.
Yeah, and I want to be a good wife. And so I think those things are wholehearted, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of blow it at certain points in all areas at one point or another. So that's just, but we don't want that, right?
No,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's funny that you said about, I want to go back to therapy. Can I go back to therapy?
You can go wherever you want.
Oh, that's right. It's
I'm
my
shocked.
podcast.
Do you want to go back to there?
I know. Well, what's interesting about therapy for me is you mentioned, I think like a lot of therapists go to therapy, become therapists because they want to do, because they
feel like they can do a better job.
yeah, because they experience therapy. In my case, what's interesting is that I've been helping people, quote unquote, for a long time, counseling them. Then I became a life coach in a certain niche, and then did other stuff. And anyway, suffice it to say, I'm doing those things, and I just thought I got to be able to do this better. And so for me, therapy was about doing that better.
Just refining what you were already doing.
Really learning and growing, and it really has helped me understand,
You circle it back to her.
people.
She's our guest.
Well, and so what's interesting for me is that from the very beginning, ever since I've known you, which has been a long time.
God, almost like 58 years.
No, but you've always
wait,
been the
not
person.
you.
You've always been the person who defends. I think we just talked about her last week, didn't we, or 2 weeks ago?
I think we were saying something about mom and dad, and that. Oh, I think I asked you, what did you used to do when mom and dad would fight, and we would all go to our rooms, and then we were like, Stephanie used to go out there and try to solve it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely
Stephanie was
the
the
one that
fixer.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was,
And then we talked about how you were the one that would beat people up for me.
I claim to fame.
Yeah. So the point is that ever since you were young, you've been a defender.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was trained to be that way. Honestly,
Trained.
in a way. Like I was like a counselor in training. I feel like when I was growing up, I was always like defending mom, and I was always like trying to be there and trying to console and things like that, from a very
But I'm
young
really
age.
curious about that word trained. That's like, okay, you practiced it, right? So I'm curious, where did you, maybe it's just semantics and you don't really mean that, but I'm curious, what do you mean by trained? Did you feel like there was things that happened that made you go into that direction kind of a thing? Like you were prepared for it?
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about.
You could talk about anything you want.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's so funny because we're on video, so everybody just saw you.
So when mom and dad would fight, mom would go off and she'd cry, and I'd always go in the room and try to, help her. Like literally
Yeah.
try to fix it.
Yeah.
So I would just sit there always trying to figure out, what can I say? What can I do? How can I make mom feel better? And then as I got older, that changed into me giving advice and telling her what I thought, and I'm a
Right.
kid. That's not my job role. But I feel like it was training for me to think that way, like always to be thinking
to think
that
about
way.
the other person,
Yeah.
and also to be thinking about what can you be saying to help them.
Which is interesting because that's just in your nature.
Yeah.
Because my nature wasn't to go fix it and whatever. Like I would go hide in my room. I didn't want to be a part of it. And then when we could come out, I would just be like, are you okay? And oh yeah, mija, you know, but I never thought, okay, well, let me sit and chat and give you advice.
Right.
You know what I mean? I
Right.
never.
And her and I were very similar, Valerie and I were, because maybe her motivation for going to her room was different. She's older, and I'm not sure. I'm not going to speak for her. But for me, the thing was, well, they work it out. I mean, they always do. I mean, when I bet by work it out didn't mean that it was going to be
just
heaven.
this is sometimes a pattern, and that
And it's just
gonna
gonna,
end
it's
up being
eventually
okay.
going to go
Yeah.
away. And it's
Yeah.
like, and I think that's the way Valerie and I kind of took it was,
hear-
what can I do about this? Whereas you took it, I can do something.
Yeah, I mean, I always looking back at it now, you know, hindsight, but I always felt powerless in that. I mean, I never felt like I could actually. I didn't feel like I was actually doing anything.
No, right.
As much as I tried, so it was kind of like this always sense of like failing all the time. You're like, try hard, doesn't work out. Try hard, doesn't work. You know, and they still kept having problems. So
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I mean, I've grown a lot, obviously, since then and everything. But I think, you know, it's not something that, like, I don't want my kids to ever feel like they had to help me with my relationship. You know, it's like if I have issues, I want to have those issues with, you know what I mean? I don't want my, even if they came up and tried to, I'd be like, you know,
This is our deal.
this is,
You
we're
go.
good.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You don't need to be involved, you know?
And whether or not we're good, this is not your job.
Yeah.
We'll figure it
And
out.
mom, years later, years later, like in my 20s, apologized to me. She's like, I should have never really shared those things with you and talked to you about those things at such a young age. So she
Yeah.
apologized for that. And I accepted her apology.
Yeah.
Because I knew that she was just doing it because she was hurting, you know, and she didn't. And it was very cultural for us to keep the secrets in the family.
Of
No, for
course.
sure.
Very Mexican,
Of
like, you don't
course.
tell anybody outside the
Yeah,
family.
she wasn't
So
going to go
afraid-
chat with friends.
Exactly.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
afraid to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Her friends or family.
No,
so.
I think most people thought, you know, our family was like great, perfect, other than when Dad would spank me because I was doing bad things in public. But that was also, in those days, wasn't as frowned upon as it is now. It was more like, oh, they're going to take control of that situation. It was like, that's not acceptable kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So I'm curious, how did our upbringing, because Valerie and I have talked about different things in our upbringing. I mean, sporadically, we never had just one single podcast. I mean, tell us a little bit about your family. I mean, you said, yes, you have a wife, you have kids, and da-da-da, but tell us about your relationship with your kids. Tell us a little bit about your kids and tell us about your relationship with them.
That's interesting. I think it's very different with each one of them. You know, Jonathan tends to be he's more introverted. He's much more like Steph in many ways. He's very introverted. He doesn't, he's not readily out there with his feelings. And so with him,
Except for when it comes to the Chiefs.
then he has very strong feelings.
Very strong feelings.
Yes.
Sorry.
And so with him, it's a little different. With him, it's a little bit more kind of pulling a little bit out, you know, pulling him out a little bit. And he's always I feel like he's always seen me as a dude in the family.
Yeah,
So, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In certain ways, he tries to emulate certain things that I do and stuff like that. But I think with him, it's, and I kind of have taken that role in some ways with him. And so it's kind of a little bit more though, pulling things out and trying to get him to feel comfortable opening up a little bit, because I want that for him in the long run in his relationships.
Yeah, and I think part of that his personality, but also too sometimes the boys are it's hard to
for sure.
I mean, but the fact that you're trying, it makes it all the better,
Yeah.
because it'll be something they'll remember, like when they're trying to relate to their wife or girlfriend or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
In terms of like sharing their feelings and stuff like that.
Right. I think I have a good relationship. I have a really good relationship with both of them. It just looks different. With Jolie, she's much more like, she's all about the affection, and she really like physical touch is her thing. And so she's very cuddly and warm, and she just, you know, she too, you know, takes time to open up a little bit and stuff, but she does it more readily than he does. But for both of them, you know, I really work hard at not being the therapist in their lives and try to do my best to just be their, you know, their mom and then their, you know, whatever they need at the time. So it's kind of a vague answer, but
No, it's a good
No,
answer.
it's a great answer.
And I know, I mean, I know Benny's asking, but we do know your family. I know
Yeah.
that you have a
Obviously,
good
I'm gonna-
relationship with them. We know that they feel good about you guys because, you know, it's not often
They want to be
that-
with you.
Yeah, it's not often
Yeah.
that the whole family wants to go to family things or whatever, you know. And
they're not
so-
trying to escape. They're
Yeah.
not trying to run. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
had
mean,
a-
Jonathan's leaving, but it's not like he's escaping. As a matter of fact, I imagine it's hard for him to consider
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
away.
no, he's like, oh, I can't wait to go.
Oh, so you did blow it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm totally kidding.
They got to spread their wings, and that's when you know you've done a really good
No,
job
that
when
is
they're
true.
ready to. Yeah,
When they're ready.
Yeah.
So,
No,
Stephanie,
can I just tell you real
go.
quickly?
Yeah.
A thing that's kind of funny is when we used to have vacations growing up. Was a couple of times we had brought friends or family over, and I mean not family, but mostly some of their friends we would go on vacation with a couple of times, and every single time they would say, "So when are we going to have our vacation now?" Because that they're like other people were there, and so it just doesn't
how
count. It's
funny.
like, when are we going to have our family vacation? And
That's
I'm like,
cute.
okay, we'll make sure to have our family vacation. So we always had to. We'd have
Back
time
to
with
back,
somebody
something
else.
where you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's really.
Do you want to share anything to our listener viewers at the very last second about wholehearted living? You don't have to feel obligated.
How long
put you
do
on
I
the spot.
have? No, I'm just kidding.
30 seconds.
45 minutes.
Oh, 30 seconds. I don't have anything to say in 30 seconds.
No, well, what were you going to
No,
say?
we're not.
I guess I was just going to say that the only thing that is always deep in my heart is somebody who's struggling with their sexuality and their spirituality to not believe that they can't have both, that they can have both, you know, and to find that path. And there's a lot of faith, what do you call it? Faith congregations from various different, you know, faith backgrounds where you can find an LGBTQ segment of it. So
Sure.
to not give up, I'm going to do a shout out to gaychurch.org because
Yeah.
that's where you can find a lot of these faith
Iggy, can
communities.
you write that down for the description?
And so to not quit looking, to realize you can
Yeah.
have both.
Don't abandon your faith is what I'm hearing
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
sake of
Yeah.
being who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
be who you are.
Well,
Right.
God,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, honestly, we're all made uniquely, individually, ourselves. Does that even make sense? I don't think I made sense on that.
Well,
we're all made. God created all of us, right?
Yeah.
And He doesn't make mistakes. I honestly think and believe that. Like, yeah, I was really naive to Stephanie not coming out. I was naive as she grew up that she was gay. I always thought she was a tomboy. In fact, that time that mom did call and I go, Mom, do you think Stephanie could be gay? And she goes, oh, Mija, she is. And I remember telling Peter and he's like, duh. He goes, I wondered why she was with Jim. And I go, I just thought she was an adult tomboy. And then, but all that to say, like, I grew up with you. So I watched you as this
Right.
person. But when I'm looking back and I'm looking at families starting their families and I see little kids and I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, it's not like all of a sudden at 15-year-old, I mean, there are people that do that. There are people that suddenly go, you know what? I think I'm going to dabble on the other end just to see what it's like, you know?
Dabble on the other end.
Yeah. I'm just saying there
I
are
get it.
people that make a choice to just see what it's like.
Yeah.
But there are people that don't. They really honestly know who they are or they find out and realize what they are. And that's okay. And like I said, you cannot change a heterosexual and go, well, you need to go to this church
Yeah.
and figure out how you can be gay or where, you know.
Well, and it's
No,
even
you-
nowadays been so proven that those things are actually. You said that something came out of it because you were able to deal with Dad, but it's interesting. But more often than not, people come out of there more condemned, more hurt, more wounded than they did when they
Well,
went in.
Keith.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a good example.
So those kind of things happen. So yeah, so that's a great word, though. It's a great thing for those of you that are struggling with your identity. That
And have faith and
yeah.
Or-
Well, even just
Well,
struggling
not,
with your
yeah.
identity, regardless. Although I would encourage you to find faith because I think it's really important. But it might be so many people that I know. They don't like Christians, but they love Jesus, and I encourage you to know that there's a lot of people that are exactly the way you want. It's just you got to find them, and so that's a big deal. So
absolutely.
So that's our sister
Woohoo!
In a nutshell.
in a nutshell. So thank you, Stephanie, very much for coming on. See, it's over. That wasn't too bad,
Okay,
right?
fun,
yeah,
right?
it wasn't as torturous as I thought. Although I am sweating like
well,
a.
and then poor things had to lean over because their
I
microphone
had
was
a little
like.
microphone issue, so sorry about that.
I'm kidding. It wasn't torture.
Okay, good.
All right,
Okay.
you guys.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being here. We are at wholehearted_living_podcast on Instagram, and you can listen to us on Spotify and YouTube. And that is it. So we will chat with you later. Bye.
Ciao.